Dr. Betsy, and we're here with another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. I am so excited that we are going to be talking with Dr. Gail Myers today. So thank you so much, Gail. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you, Dr. Betsy. It's great to be here.
So I want to ask, I bring this up in every show because I love people's backgrounds. What is it that you do and how did you get involved in this?
I'm an integrative medicine physician, and I'd always known that I was going to be a doctor since I was a child, but I took a circuitous route and studied botany and have a master's in wetland ecology. So I started really understanding about ecology and the wholeness of environmental interaction. And I knew that I needed to become a doctor. So I did. And in the process, I studied internal medicine. I have a residency in internal medicine, but I knew that there was more. So integrative medicine has always been my passion. And I began practicing in Vermont over 30 years ago and have truly enjoyed having an integrative medicine practice, holistic mind, body, spirit approach to wellness.
That's something when you got involved in integrative medicine, it really wasn't as well known as it is today. And even today, there's still there's pockets of people that know about it, but I think the main population doesn't know what integrative medicine really incorporates. So,
Yes, because when I started, there were no role models in integrative medicine. So I knew that internal medicine was a great foundation and it's been invaluable. But I also knew that there were other modalities that I needed to bring into my practice to really be able to help people in a broader way. And integrative medicine is integrating mind, body, spirit, bringing the whole person, not just looking at disease, but looking at cause of disease. And one of the parts of my practice that I have loved, and you're an osteopath, is biodynamics of osteopathy in the cranial field. And the principle of osteopathy that you look for the health, not the disease. And so in integrative medicine, that's what we're really doing. We're looking for the health, we're looking for cause, and we're looking how to rebalance the body that is designed to be in homeostasis. It's designed to be healthy as long as it doesn't go over the tipping point. So it isn't just one aspect of treatment of disease or illness. It integrates all the different modalities of lifestyle, sleep, diet, exercise, life in general, doing what is your passion, and bringing that wholeness into the appointment so that it's not just treating a headache, for example, treating the whole person.
and I love that because I think, unfortunately, for traditional medicine, it really kind of was born out of a triage type of model where it was like, okay, let's just get you comfortable for now, and that may be throwing pills at you, and not that medicines aren't a good tool, but I love this approach where we're including all aspects of life. So where have you found, now this is where I get really interested, because I think for majority of our shows, we're always talking about the body aspect of things, but I want to get more into the mind spirit aspect of total wellness. What have you discovered over the years to help people with that aspect?
So going back to conventional medicine and integrative medicine, what I have learned over the years is that there's a time and place for every part of medicine. So in my passion, though, in integrative medicine is spiritual health. And I have been interested in meditation since I was in my 20s. And I started having experiences as a teenager where I would have dreams and I would meet the person in the dream later. And as a scientist, I kept having experiences that were beyond what we could explain at that time. Now we've come a long way in terms of being able to look at the mind-body integration and how it incorporates everything from a physical reaction, hormonal reaction, emotional reaction or response. And so for me, meditation became not just a tool, but a lifestyle for me that helped me through residency and to this day. And in the process, I've studied many forms of meditation, and I've done a lot of work. I'm an advanced meditator, but it wasn't until the early 2000s that I met a specific teacher, Michael Tamura, who taught me how to ground. And that piece in and of itself, it's a grounding tool that has helped me to stay present. That's an incorporation of a tool that you can use in any meditation. And so for me, applying it in the moment, I remember when I learned how to ground, I remember thinking, oh, wouldn't this have been great when I was working in the emergency room? Wouldn't this have been great when I was in residency? And watch what you ask for, as they say, because I got to have that opportunity in terms of being grounded in the emergency room where I used to work, unfortunately, from in a moment of life and death and near death experience that gratefully I survived a high impact collision. And I got to practice that grounding in that moment of before the accident, during, and ever since. But I got to go to that emergency room and be grounded and be present. And it changed everything. So my approach to wellness and healing always involves the spirit, because as you've heard, we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, but we're not the experience, and we're not the body. We're much greater than that. We're beings, we're amazing beings that have incredible capacity. And we forget that we're these amazing beings, and we forget when we get lost in the moment of the experience or our physical pain. And so when I treat, I always acknowledge that we're much greater than the experience that we're having.
That is so fascinating. I wanted to ask you, I guess, a little bit more about grounding. What does that mean to ground?
It means to be present. It means to know yourself in the moment as greater than the experience that you're having. You're having the experience, but we're spiritual beings having the experience. And the grounding, most people are grounded when they run, when they are exercising, when they are in hiking or doing some extended physical activity. You feel really present. You feel grounded in your body. But this particular tool has to do with imaging a tree trunk to the center of the planet from the space right above the tip of the tailbone. And that's an energetic processor that can help us stay grounded in the moment. So if you think about a big redwood, how anchored that is, how stable that is. If you think of a palm tree in a hurricane, it bends, but it doesn't fly away. So we can be that too in the moment.
How did the grounding help you with this horrific car accident that you went through?
It helped me to stay present, to not leave in the trauma of the moment. I was able to stay present and just be in the moment and not try to be somewhere else. Because I mean, why would I want to, let's see, how to say this. If I am present, when we're present, we're going to be able to respond from a much deeper place within ourselves. We could call it our inner wisdom, our inner GPS. And that's what the grounding does. It helps us to stay present and access that inner guidance that we all have. But we get so caught up in the moment that we just forget. So how do you, it's a wonderful way to remember and stay present.
I'm thinking about how this pertains to other people's lives, and I was just, my brain was just running through so many different examples. Like I was thinking, maybe the executive who's got some big deadline and is worrying about like this deadline in the future. But if they just took the time to kind of ground and realize like, well, right now I'm sitting in my chair and I'm safe and I'm working at my desk, and like, let me just deal with what's happening right this minute now. That future worry might not be as kind of like heavy or kind of as stressful.
True, it doesn't, so our attention doesn't go to the stress. It goes into the moment that we're capable of responding to in a way that's productive, in a way that is creative. Maybe something happened in the process of reaching that deadline, but if you're present, you're going to be problem solving instead of stress solving.
And I see this too, because I've had a number of patients that have been diagnosed with cancer over the years, though I don't treat cancer. And I realize that diagnosis is, for many people, they interpret it as a death sentence, and there's this panic. But I've seen studies that have shown that people that kind of go into their cancer therapy either more relaxed or more grounded or more present, that they tend to do better and have better survival rates than somebody who's already going in with like a bad attitude and is stressing about what is to come.
When we stress, the stress hormone cortisol, as you know really well, is really detrimental to our immune system and our ability to respond on a lot of different levels. And so when we're present and when we're accessing that inner peace, that really helps the cortisol level to drop and for our body to be able to start to respond in a much more, in a healthier way, because the body is designed to be healthy. So when we can give it that ability, that let's see, the encouragement, you could say, by being connected to it, but not being totally engulfed in the trauma or the disease or the stress or the fear that we go into. So part of the grounding is to help calm the fear and help us access again that inner being. And that's the spirit that is immensely capable. And when we're in a near-death experience, it becomes very obvious. And that was for me, I had been teaching meditation for years, and now I teach it from a different place because I've had this direct experience of being able to be present as a greater part of who I am instead of someone being in an accident. Yes, I'm aware of being in an accident, but I'm also aware that I have this greater capability of staying present in that moment. And then from there, that creative opening for a new solution can appear, and it makes it so much easier. So that's where you were talking about being calm, and in treatment, to be able to have that calmness really helps the body to be able to respond in a much healthier and vibrant way.
This is amazing, Gail. I can't wait to talk about more when we come back from the commercial break.
80% of women will develop a pelvic health condition at some point in their lives. There is relief. There is hope. The Pelvic Floor Store, your resource for personal health.
And we're back talking with Dr. Gail Myers. We're talking about grounding and meditation, and I can't wait to get a little bit more into this. So, Gail, I'm always talking to my patients about body, mind, spirit. And a lot of times I bring up like the idea of meditation, and the scientist in me starts going like, oh, there's all these studies. And people usually look at me with a blank face when I say meditation, because they think they need to be some like yogi sitting on top of a mountain with their like legs crossed, and they're like looking at me like, you're crazy, I'm not going to do that. So what really is meditation, and how do we do it?
Well, meditation is there are many different forms of meditation, but all forms of meditation really help to quiet the monkey mind. All forms of meditation help us to access that inner being, our spiritual being that's having this physical experience, this experience of growing, of learning, of integrating and having wisdom. And whatever form of meditation works for you, that's the form of meditation to do. And for me, the particular form of meditation that I have that has really worked for me, and it's what I teach, and I teach professionals, it's a visualization meditation. There are many different forms of meditation, and this particular one is envisioning, because what we visualize, what we envision, the body experiences it as if it's happening. And if you're watching the Olympics right now, you watch the ones who are winning gold. Many of them will stop at the top, and they're going through this whole process, and the announcer will say they're envisioning every part of this run, every flip, every landing. They've got it all. They're seeing it really clearly before they actually take off. And so this form of meditation has been used in visualization meditation has been used for athletes now, because it is so effective. It's also very calming when you envision what you're about to experience in a positive way. Because so much of the time we think about, oh no, I've got to do this, and what all the things that could go wrong. But what if you start to envision all the things that could go right, and the way you would like to have it happen? And then at the point of just being present, you experience it, but the subconscious mind has already seen a positive outcome. So you're set up for a better outcome. And then the rest can play out as it's supposed to. So that's one of the wonderful aspects of meditation. It's calming, it lowers blood pressure, it can help body pain, it can help you be more functional in your day. Let's say you're going to have an intense conversation with someone, and you can literally think about that. For example, using that grounding cord, like you're sitting on a big tree trunk, and just let all that stress drop off as if it was just gonna completely land in the center of the planet and disperse and be redirected in a positive way. It gets neutralized. So when we can let go of stress and have a more neutral in a more neutral aspect to our interaction, we're going to be able to be much more creative, amused, compassionate, and enthusiastic in the moment. So that's what a lot of athletes have been using. And if you watch, it is so amazing to see how they actually perform in the race when they do this. So we can do that in our lives. And that's one of the things I'm passionate about. So if someone is really stressed about their health, and start to envision a healthy body. Start to envision what it's going to feel like to be healthy, what it's going to be like to be out in the world in your life, maybe with your family, or your job, or a creative project. What's it going to be like to have your health? Because our health is our true wealth. When we have our health, everything else can manifest from there in a much different way. So when we're using meditation for our health, it's a way to actually help the body to heal. And so that's one of the things that I did. I mean, and being involved in a head-on collision was very serious. Gratefully, I survived, and gratefully, I did not have a severe head injury, but it took 5 years to recover. And I had to envision, I completely used these tools as I was healing, because as a physician, it was a little tricky, because I knew that to have a full recovery might not be possible and might not be likely, but I wasn't going to go there. And it wasn't that I was being Pollyanna, it was that I could envision my body being healthy, those ligaments being healed, that I could have mobility in my neck again. But I also took all the steps that I needed to take care of myself. So meditation is an aspect of our health, but it's an extremely important aspect. You could say it's a foundational aspect of our health.
I wonder too if this is the difference between, you hear these stories all the time where someone has this terrible diagnosis or they've been in this terrible accident, and you have the people that kind of get better, and then you see the people who like completely reverse what they're doing. And I'm wondering if it's because they have more of this mental spiritual aspect of their health and wellness.
Yes. I would say yes. And it certainly was for me. And so for me, even as a doctor, that was my first and foremost foundation. And from there, I utilized all the different forms of medicine that were going to help me in the moment, in the time as I progressed through my healing. And gratefully, I can say that I fully recovered.
And I'm so glad that you're giving these examples, and especially of what you've gone through, because I think sometimes when we talk about the mental and spiritual, it's something that's difficult to grasp. And I know, like for myself, I've always had a hard time explaining that, being very kind of concrete in my science. But what also helped me was I came across some studies where, especially with pain patients and somebody who's with chronic pain, that I was fascinated to find that there are physical changes that occur to the brain, and that the brain of somebody who's in chronic pain looks completely different from somebody who's not. And they took those patients, they did a bunch of studies where they took those patients, and all they did was put them through an 8-week program of meditation. And then they did another study where they did creative visualization, like picturing their body healthy. And after 8 weeks, the brain, when they scanned the brain again, the brain actually changed its form and went back more closer to a normal brain. And also those patients now were reporting less pain. And I find that stuff absolutely fascinating.
Well, yes, absolutely. What happens is that when we meditate, when we are visualizing, say, health, there are literally brain changes that happened. They happen. We talked about the cortisol earlier. When cortisol drops, that inflammatory response in the brain and the nerves can calm, and healthier tissue can begin to form and respond. And so what happens is that as we envision, so the meditation, the calming, the peace, the inner peace, and then the envisioning of health actually causes, as you said, it's been studied, brain changes, and it's called neuroplasticity. We're literally changing the nerve pathways to respond from that state of health instead of the stressful response and the pain response.
And I think this is absolutely amazing. Is there something I didn't ask you about meditation and grounding that you want people to know?
I would like them to know that just having a breath in the moment, take a moment and be present. That's the one takeaway from today, that whatever's going on in the moment, breathe, connect to your inner light, to your inner being, and see in that moment how it can be different.
That is great. And this is something that we can try to do anywhere that
Yes.
we are. This is not something that you need to necessarily be
No,
like, sitting in a room by yourself, right? You can do this kind of practice anywhere.
that's the beauty of it. Anytime, anywhere. If you're stuck in traffic, if you're in a meeting, if you're having a conversation, or you're out playing and you're having a good time, you can do this anytime, anywhere, because it's really your presence. That's the spirit being present that changes everything.
Where can people find out more about you?
They can find out more about me on Health Conscious Inc. That is my business. And also the Intuitive Awareness Center, I co-founded and co-created and co-teach there. They can find out more information there. And if you would like to know more about this specific meditation, the University of South Florida is offering a wellness and well-being summit in late March. So you can find out more about this particular meditation. You can find my segment on that Wellness and Well-being Summit.
That is great. Thank you so much, Gail, for taking the time to talk with us today.
You're
I,
welcome. It was a pleasure.
I really appreciate it. So everybody, make sure you go and find Gail. Also, I'm going to put in a little mention that Gail's also on social media. So I follow her on Instagram. So what is your handle on Instagram?
At Gail Myers, MD.
All right. So make sure you guys go follow her there. Check out her website. Also, when you're out there searching, don't forget to go to wytv7.org. Check out all the other shows and programs that we have. Don't forget to hit the donate button, because every dollar that you donate to WYTV7 community broadcasters goes towards bringing great programs like this today, and more importantly, for our community outreach. And there you can find all the things that we're doing in the community. And also, don't forget to tune in again next week to another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. I'm Dr. Betsy Greenleaf. Thank you. Be well.